Your testimony today, and as I stated in the opening statement, my communities often approach me about the need for increased federal funding. That's why I'm conflicted by the statements of President Trump. On one hand, he called for tripling the amount of funding in the Clean Water Drinking State Revolving Fund. We call that a win. On the other hand, the forthcoming infrastructure proposal reportedly to focus solely on increased use of private financing to close our nation's infrastructure gap. It won't work for many of my communities. Most recently, we learned the president plans to cut the funding for EPA by close to 30%. It would have a devastating impact on the ability of my state and other state communities to address their water quality challenges. Starting with the State Revolving Fund Authority, Ranking Member DeFazio and I are planning to reintroduce legislation to finally reauthorize Clean Water SRF. To the panel, all of you, yes or no, Clean Water State Revolving Fund program is an important tool to address local water challenges, and would you urge this committee to reauthorize the program? Yes or no?
I'd say yes and no, and use private capital when you can get it.
I would encourage it be reauthorized. Again, the revolving loan fund provides that mechanism for financing for municipalities that sometimes just is not there otherwise.
On behalf of all states, we have several resolutions at ECOS that would say yes.
Thank you.
I'll abstain as the flood guy.
I tend to agree with Ms. Ellick at the end that use a little bit of both.
When necessary.
Yes, ma'am.
I would say yes, and certainly give access to private companies as well, and marry it up with private funding as well.
We strongly support the ranking member's proposal to reauthorize the SRF and to expand to $4 billion a year.
Thank you. Many of you directly utilize programs or funding provided through the EPA. What would be the impact of a 30% cut in these programs to the ability to meet your local needs? Ms. Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Napolitano, the states have been working with the EPA and with OMB in the last 3 weeks to understand the magnitude of the cuts. At this point, we have not seen the actual programmatic budget line items that are proposed. However, a 30% reduction in the state and tribal assistance grants, which include a variety of sources of revenue that states rely on for implementation of our basic water and air protection programs, as well as brownfield and Superfund sites, would cut across approximately 15 to 25% of most state programs.
Thank you. Last week, Mr. Stein, the Environmental Council of States submitted a letter to Mr. Trump and the administration on proposed cuts, which I ask unanimous consent to include in the record. In this letter, you state the cuts to EP budget will have, quote, have profound impact on states' ability to implement the core environmental programs expected by our citizens, close quote, including clean water programs and state permitting programs. Can you elaborate a little more?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Napolitano, yes, that is a statement that builds on my previous statement, which is states use the funds to leverage existing programs at the state level. For example, our clean water and drinking water revolving loan programs are matched in the state of Minnesota by capitalized bonds that the state issues to leverage the federal dollars. So that would be one specific impact in my state. But when you look at how states fund their existing environmental protection programs, whether it's air, land, water, all of the states utilize federal funds across a suite of activities. It's too soon to say what the direct impacts would be, but it is, as I stated in the letter, profound.
To Mayor McCarthy, while not a direct focus of the hearing, I too support the EPA's brownfield program. That is why I am concerned to read the President may propose to eliminate all federal funding for brownfield. Is that a proposal that you would support?
No, I would encourage, Congress represents the state level to look at those options to remediate brownfields, to do conversions that bring them back as productive pieces of real estate. Schenectady, my testimony reflects, the testimony that's submitted reflects an old brownfield site which was the American Locomotive Works in the city of Schenectady. It sat there for 50 years. It was abandoned and underutilized, really an embarrassing piece of real estate. Everybody was afraid that it was beyond salvage. When we actually got in and worked through in a systematic process, the remediation was not that, the problems weren't that bad. We were able to put there now, there's we just opened a new casino, which is a $300 million project. We have underway a $150 million mixed-use housing project going immediately adjacent to the Mohawk River. And so it shows that, again, working together, we're able to take that site that people had really ignored and make it really an asset not only for Schenectady but the region.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We're going to